Okay. Hello. It's time for another stream. This is going to be one of them short ones, as it turns out. As I often do, I tested the controls before getting stream ready. And as it sometimes happens, I kind of liked the game, and so I kept playing, and then I beat it. So, this game has the best control scheme I've ever seen. It's got one button. Z. Okay, it's got two buttons. Oh, that's so loud! My headphones were turned all the way up, and so I got blasted. So once you're in game, there's one button. It is Z. So as a bubble, you are buoyant, and you naturally float up. You cannot control your left-right movement. It just happens automatically. But you will bounce whenever you hit a wall. So you need to leverage that along with pressing and holding Z to descend, and control that alongside your automatic ascent, sort of like a reverse Flappy Bird, a reverse helicopter, if you will. And that's it. That's the only button. But as this purports to be a difficult arcadey game, it gets difficult. That said, unlike arcade games, this has no game over state. You just keep going. Anytime you die, you lose $1, but if you hit 0, I mean, you just hit 0, and I guess that after that point, you ain't gonna lose anything anymore. That's nice. So the only real challenge, besides just getting through the game at all, then, is going for a high score. You don't have to worry about losing all of your progress, because you died too much. I appreciate that. If you're making a super difficult game in the modern day, I highly recommend having no game over state, because game over states are just so annoying. A lot of old games, if they had no game over states, would actually not be nearly as hard as their reputation would have you believe. Like something like Ghosts and Goblins, sure, that's still hard. But a lot of really janky, like NES games, like even Contra. I mean, if Contra had infinite lives, it would be super easy. It would be trivial even. The only thing that's stopping you from beating that game is game overing. Because you just respawn on the spot. So if you were to make a version of it with infinite lives, you would have to have checkpoints, and even in that case, it would still be a lot more reasonable. Although having to defeat any of the bosses without, like, losing at any point could be quite difficult. But still, you fundamentally would be able to play the game a lot better without getting sent back to the start all the time. And so the game would be a lot more approachable. I had it and then I let it go. Nope. Nope. There we go. So, what I was worried about when I started, when I chose this game, is I was worried that it would focus on being hard rather than being good. That's a very easy mistake to make. There are a lot of very hard games out there, but the reason why hard games have such a good reputation lately is because the Souls series was so good. And the Souls series wasn't good because it was hard. It was good and also hard. But because people want to chase trends and all, and make a name for themselves like that, some people make the mistake of thinking that it's the difficulty that made it so good. Really, Souls games are probably good in spite of being hard. Because it does do sort of biggest thing you should try to avoid when making a game, which is pushing players away. Because it certainly does. Its unforgiving nature is very intimidating. There are still people today who say, I would love to play the Souls games, but I'm afraid of the difficulty. If it weren't for the fact that the Souls games are as well made as they are, that sort of idea could have killed them, and indeed has killed From Software games in the past. Most From Software games are very difficult, and most of them you'll find are nowhere near as popular as Dark Souls. And they're not bad games, but they're not good enough to justify how unapproachable they are. There's a very common sentiment you'll see on those internets that games today are easier than they used to be. In some ways, this is absolutely true. But in some ways, it's also not. A lot of games today, you're likely to hit the failure state, and I've gone over what constitutes exactly a hard game a number of times, but you're likely to hit the failure state a number of times. The difference is you won't lose as much or any progress. And so the game is much more approachable. Even if doing it at all, with like infinite lives, is actually a lot harder. So does a live system make a game difficult? Well, I really don't think so. The only thing that can make a game difficult is the challenge of doing it at all. Doing it at a high level of precision, a high level of perfection, should always be seen as an additional personal challenge. Like, playing this game without dying at all, to get the max score, would absolutely be extremely difficult. If the game required that, or even required anything near that, like say you had 5 lives, yeah, the game would be really hard and I wouldn't want to finish it. But that's the rub, isn't it? I wouldn't want to finish it. It would no longer be a good game. As it stands, because you can just keep playing and set for yourself your own expectations of how well you should do, the game is pretty fun. It's a nice little game. So this game gets that fundamental issue that plagues some very hard games, including From Software games, like Kingsfield and Armored Core. And this game gets it right. Not punishing you too badly for making mistakes, but also rewarding you if you do decide to go the extra mile and become extremely good at it. It will recognize your high level of skill with saying, hey, you got the high score. So, here's where levels are going to start getting real tricky. These arrows change the gravity. So instead of pressing Z to go down, you will automatically go down, and you instead press Z to go up. And that can switch back and forth very quickly when you start touching the arrows a whole lot. Ah. See, when you're going back and forth over them, it's like, oh god, which way's down, which way's up? And things get a lot trickier. And that's when you really start getting into the meat grinder situation of losing lives. Hey, that was not bad. Oh, that was so smooth. That was so smooth. That's some greedy bubble poggers. Hey, it's like I'm good at the game or something. The last mechanic, I think, to be that's introduced in this game is these teleportation bubbles. Go through them and you just get teleported. Oh yeah, so this is weird. These arrows here, you just like automatically go down, right? They don't show up again. That's the last you see of them. And then there's these spider webs that do appear in a couple levels. But, like, it's like you just introduced a new mechanic and you're not going to continue using it and you're just going to introduce a new one. This game could really, really benefit from just having some more levels because we're almost done. Yeah, this is the last level. And that's it. That's the end of the game. It could use like another 10 levels at least, maybe a lot more. And it feels like levels wouldn't take very long to make in this, but that it. Sometimes it's an 11-minute game, and I even got a pretty good score. It doesn't even reset on its own. Like I'm stuck here. I don't know. It's just really small. I didn't think this would be that small of a game. Because, like, this is definitely the sort of length that should be on the short game stream. But I miss them sometimes. And after figuring it out earlier, I didn't want to, like, go, oh, well, actually, today's stream's canceled because it's a short game stream. Sometimes it's 12 minutes long. So, excuse me. Yeah, that's it for today. Tomorrow is Ephemeral Tales, which I believe is an RPG, so, like, it should be long. It's $15. Yeah, this is, like, a JRPG-like. So, it should be pretty lengthy. Probably a multi-parter. Let's see. Checking the itch page. Okay, someone said it takes 5 hours, so there's probably be 2 parts. Well, there we go. That's it for today. See you tomorrow. I'm going back to FF16.